I won't lie, after chapter 1152, I genuinely felt bad for Sanji. But it also got me thinking, if anyone's walking the path toward Conqueror's Haki, why not him? I'm not here to argue Sanji should or needs to get Conqueror's Haki. This video is not about that. I am here to explain how he could get it, and why I believe he will. I take some issue with people saying how Sanji can't get it, or doesn't deserve it, because he doesn't have the qualities of a king, and that Oda giving it to him wouldn't make sense, as that would be bad writing. First of all, there is no such thing as qualities of a king, at least not in the sense that those qualities are well established, as there isn't a single quality that all users of Conqueror's Haki share. The phrase is ultimately a vague and subjective idea, often used to gatekeep Conqueror's Haki from characters that don't align with someone's personal image of who should have it. With that out of the way, let's examine these qualities that are often brought up as a prerequisite for having the color of the Supreme King: natural-born leader. One of the least often brought up qualities is the natural-born leader. The idea that every user of the Conqueror's Haki is a leader of a group, be it a captain like Luffy, or an admiral like Don Chinjiao. But this simply isn't true. There are several notable examples of Conqueror's users that are not leaders of anything, but rather subordinates or right-hand men: Zoro, Rayleigh, and Katakuri, to name a couple. Another interpretation is that they do not need to be official leaders, but rather have the qualities of one. For example, Zoro isn't a captain, but he's been mistaken for one multiple times. Rayleigh is known as the Dark King. Katakuri is seen taking matters into his own hands, and acting as a leader when Big Mom is out of her mind. But even by these standards, Sanji has absolutely shown leadership qualities on multiple occasions. On Sabaody, Luffy splits the crew into 3 groups, between himself, Zoro, and Sanji, with each one of them acting as a leader of their group. On Punk Hazard, he earned the respect of G5 Marines, who then chose to follow his lead. On Dressrosa, when the crew splits, Sanji becomes the acting captain and takes charge of mounting a counterattack on Big Mom pirates. And I'm sure there are other examples as well, but I think these will suffice. Now the next quality is disposition to stand above others. This quality is an extent of the natural-born leader idea, as many Conqueror's users are rulers, kings, or emperors, and by default have the disposition to stand above others. And Sanji, being a prince of Germa, a long line of literal conquerors, has the disposition to stand above the others, as he literally is royalty. This is something Judge always wanted for Sanji when he was a child. Furthermore, Sanji is also a member of Monster Trio, alongside Luffy and Zoro, being one of the 3 main combatants of the Straw Hats. That's why he had a prolonged battle with Queen that mirrors the prolonged battle Zoro and Luffy had, where we can see them develop more, not only in power, but also as characters. If you put King versus Zoro and Queen versus Sanji side by side, you will see that they literally follow the same beats. These 3 by far enjoy the biggest focus out of any Straw Hats when it comes to their fights, and it should be evident by now that they are special. Disposition to stand above others is also directly tied into the strength of the person. If you have the strength, then you can stand above the others, and Sanji, as one of the main Straw Hat combatants, has shown multiple times to have it. I also want to quote the statement of the Doflamingo that the weak don't get to choose how they die. This is why I find it questionable when people say Usopp should have it. Yes, it would be funny if he had it, and it fits his ambition, but by the metric that people use to say Sanji can't have it, Usopp also couldn't have it. This is not me saying Usopp can't have it. I believe there is a good argument to be made for him as well. Now the next quality is great ambition. One of the most often brought up reasons as to why Sanji couldn't or shouldn't have Conquerors stems from his goal not being strength-oriented. His dream of finding all blue does not require him to be strong. Stop me if you have heard this one before. He can't have it as he is just a cook. He isn't trying to become the world's strongest swordsman, or the Pirate King, which is inherently wrong. The nature of one's goal should not and does not matter. You don't need to want to be the strongest to have great ambition. Luffy's dream is to be the Pirate King, which in itself does not mean he wants to be the strongest. His need and want to become strong stems from necessity to reach that goal and protect his crew, which would be the exact same case for Sanji. To find the All Blue, make his captain the Pirate King, same as Ace with Whitebeard, and protect his crew, he also needs to become strong. Great ambition means that a person has the strength of character and strength of will to reach and achieve their goal, no matter how grandiose that goal might or might not be. This means that you will never back down on your morals and abandon your dreams no matter what the situation is, unless it's under your own condition, which is perfectly represented by Zoro's willingness to die after failing to achieve his dream and Sanji's absolute refusal to hit a woman even in the face of death. That's why Whitebeard, who wished for nothing more than a family, could have it and be known as the world's strongest man. The nature of one's goal is not important. When Zoro was double confirmed to have Conqueror's Haki, even the advanced version of it, I believe there was a 50-50 chance Sanji might get it. Why is Zoro a factor in Sanji getting it or not? Because of the domino effect. Once Luffy got Conqueror's Haki, we had over a decade of everyone speculating that Zoro was also going to obtain it. Now that he did, people naturally moved on to the next domino in line, which was Sanji. He was never going to get Conquerors before Zoro, just like how Zoro was never going to get it before Luffy. Hence why so many people are talking about it now. It's not that people think Sanji should get it because Zoro has it, Wings of the Pirate King and whatnot. It's because Zoro having it opens up the possibility of Sanji having it as well. Why only 50% and not 100%? Because even in Monster Trio, Oda does single out Luffy and Zoro duo with certain things. Their opponents usually make a return, like Hachi, Daz Bones and Kaku. Yuzu was the only fishman beside Hundi to get white hair from the overuse of steroids. Only Luffy and Zoro are supernovas. Kaido and King were the only two to get flashbacks. Only Luffy and Zoro fought CP0 on Egghead, and etc. And Conqueror's Haki might be another thing that just the two of them share. The Silver Bullet people always used to shoot down the idea of Sanji having Conquerors was the supposed lack of foreshadowing. Before Luffy got his, we never knew what Conqueror's Haki even was, so the lack of foreshadowing for him was understandable and explainable. But for Zoro, we had nearly a decade of hints that just kept piling up. Zoro repeatedly being mistaken for a captain, scaring people into submission, noted for not looking like a follower, Rayleigh, who directly parallels Zoro, also having it, etc. Well, now we have foreshadowing for Sanji as well, and it's eerily similar to the one we had for Zoro right before he unlocked his Conquerors. When I previously mentioned the users of Conqueror's Haki, who are also subordinates, I left out the most important one, Scopper Gaban. He's not only someone with Conqueror's Haki that used to be a follower, but also a direct parallel to Sanji. If both Luffy and Zoro's parallels from the Pirate King's crew Roger and Rayleigh have it, then Sanji's parallel from Roger's crew, Gaban, having it, is probably the strongest hint that Sanji will end up having Conqueror's Haki as well. With all that said, at this point, Sanji getting Conqueror's Haki purely depends on how Oda wishes to go forward with it. If he makes Conqueror's Haki a necessity for top-tier fights, then Sanji will probably get it. The God Knights seem to be built up as the main antagonistic fighting force of the world government, so one would expect that the members of the main fighting force of the Straw Hats would go up against them. To defeat the God Knights, one needs to have the ability to bypass their immortality, and that ability is Conqueror's Haki. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more of my stuff, make sure to like, leave a comment and subscribe me for more One Piece stuff. Goodbye.